Hi, and welcome back to our YouTube channel,
Fulfill the Game of Life. And here we are with the second revision of the differences between the United States and Portugal. And if you watched our last video, hopefully you enjoyed that and you're tuning in for this one. So let's get going again. Kicking off, number one.
Movies. So any movie that is pretty much US based or is English and it is shown here in Portugal, if there are any foreign scenes, I guess, with foreign languages, those are closed captioned in Portuguese.
So gefällt mir das. Zeit für einen Tanz auf euren Gräbern.
So pretty much you're left to kind of trying to guess what they're saying.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't affect the movie experience very much, but if you do see a film that has a lot of foreign dialogue that would usually be kind of, you know, put across the bottom in English, it's now put across the bottom in Portuguese. So yeah, you're left to guess a little bit. Usually doesn't mess movies up very much at all, but it's just a little subtle thing to understand when you go watch a movie here.
So the next thing that we're going to talk about is HVAC and public heating.
Yeah, so when you're in public here, one thing is definitely different. Now, it's different in the United States by which region you're in and how much air conditioning goes into restaurants or any public place. But I'll tell you, as a person who really enjoys being warm, the United States, particularly in the southern states, they will freeze you to death in the middle of summer. You'll go into restaurants, it feels like they're almost pushing you out. It's like the whole restaurant will be cooled down to 68 degrees Fahrenheit so you can eat and get out quickly. That's not the case here.
Exactly. So if you're from Arizona or somewhere in the dry desert climates, you love that.
You love to go into the really cold places, right? That doesn't exist here. Most of the time, all through the summer when we were here, very few places even really had air conditioning.
Right.
And if they did, it wasn't turned down to like southern US type of weather, which for me personally was awesome. A little bit less awesome for you, I think, right?
I prefer the cold.
But the flip side of that actually is the winter now. And what you see in the winter is pretty interesting as well. If you go to the mall in winter or you go to the stores in winter, I'm sure they have heaters, but they don't seem to turn them on.
And maybe that's just a way to conserve energy.
Yeah, so people, usually the attire that they're wearing outside, the jackets, you know, kind of bundled up and zipped up to before they go in the mall, they just keep wearing them in the mall. And you know what? It does make sense electricity-wise. Why heat a big giant space when the clothes you wore in would translate inside just like they do outside? But it's completely different than the U.S. in both cases. So the next thing we want to talk about is hot water. And what we have seen in the majority of Airbnbs that we've stayed in is, in Europe here, they've already transitioned to instant water heaters.
Which is really nice because I tend to take really long showers.
Yep, so it has a couple of benefits, right? You don't have a water heater stuck in a closet that keeps water warm all the time, just consuming electricity. And of course, they're efficient these days, but still, you're keeping water warm for no reason. And here, the instant water heaters, you turn them on, it takes maybe up to a minute, and the water is heated instantly and just supplies until you're finished using the water. So more energy efficient in the long run, has the benefit of practically endless hot water as long as you wanted to take a shower. And we strongly prefer it. And actually pretty much planning in the United States in our home, when the water heater was going to be replaced, we would find a way to get the instant water heaters in place. It's just a superior idea, and we're looking forward to getting there ourselves one day.
So I guess walking around and just noticing some of what women or females are wearing. In the summertime, obviously everybody wears shorts and they wear skirts. I did notice in the wintertime, you don't see a whole lot of people wearing shorts. They aren't wearing skirts that much, but when you do see that, they're wearing stockings or pantyhose or some type of leggings that add to their, I guess, fashion statement, because they are designed pantyhose and things like that, which looks really cute, but typically in the US you really don't see a whole lot of that, or I hadn't noticed it. So that's one of the things that I noticed a difference between the US and here.
This last little segment, actually, we almost never really talk negatively about Europe, and because there's so much to like here, right? But no place is perfect, so we wanted to give you a couple of things that we basically don't like a whole lot about Europe, and
it's a personal preference, actually.
Very nicely said.
So one thing that we did notice was the smoking. Here, there's a lot less stigma, I guess. I don't know if that's what you want to say, but there's a lot more freedom for those who do enjoy smoking or the need for that. They can smoke on the outside. I hadn't noticed anybody smoking on the inside, but anywhere on the outside of a restaurant is pretty much free game.
Yep, quite regularly we'll get big whiffs of cigarette smoke, right?
Which we prefer to not be around that, but that's just one thing that we noticed that we didn't particularly care for.
Yeah. The second thing, and I do think any American, if they landed, honestly, this is not Portugal specific, this is practically all of Europe. And when we say that, about 4 or 5 years ago, we went on a 10-year anniversary trip. We went to England, we went to London, went to Paris, went to Rome, and went to Venice. And in practically every city, there is graffiti.
Right.
And we don't particularly like the graffiti, and it's distracting. It draws your eye. Eventually, we're here 9 months, and it kind of fades into the background. You don't think about it as much as you did when you first got here.
It's a little disappointing sometimes, though, to see beautiful architecture and then there's the graffiti added to such beautiful architecture. And so it's a sad
it'll be everywhere. It'll be on some buildings, it'll be on walls, and it's just kind of culturally is what the Europeans seem to do. Now here's an interesting story though, and I think you find it a little bit captivating. On that anniversary trip, I can't remember which city made this claim. We paid for some tours in Rome. We went on some tours in Paris, and I think we definitely had people talking to us in London. So I'm not sure which of those countries told us this, but it took me and surprised me a little bit, in which they started talking about graffiti, and they made the statement that graffiti is the gift that America has given Europe. And of course, as an American, a little defense mechanism said, well, that's a bold claim to make, right? You got all this graffiti here, and you're interpreting it as kind of the gift that it originated in America and is now really kind of all over the European continent. And I took that as I usually do, and I go home and I research. And lo and behold, just for the curious, at least it is a generally accepted narrative that graffiti did indeed start in the United States, and it's definitely much more prevalent here. There are some places in the United States, you get in the bigger cities, you'll see graffiti, and on a rare occasion you'll see it in smaller towns. But I had to go through my defense mechanism. I went and did my research. I'm now comfortable with the fact that the Americans started it, and it worked its way over here, and it doesn't look good in America, and it doesn't look good in Europe. But it's a personal preference. Doesn't really affect my lifestyle nor my enjoyment of life, so it's not a really big deal. But when you land here, the moment that you leave the airport, you trust me, you'll see it, you'll recognize it, and you'll notice it, so don't be surprised by it.
Well, that wraps up our second video of differences, and we hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please don't forget to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe.
Oh, I got those backwards. Anyway, let's have a good day, and thank you guys for tuning into the videos, and we will get you some more content here on the Algarve just around the corner.